A horror film turned reality. On February 19, 2013, following complaints from guests at the Old Cecil Hotel about discolored, foul-smelling water and low pressure, the naked, decomposed, and bloated body of 21-year-old Elisa Lam was discovered in one of the hotel's water tanks. Many were stunned by the eerie similarities between Elisa's death and the tragic fate of the ghost in the movie Dark Water, which had been released 11 years earlier in 2002. However, the most frightening aspect of Elisa Lam's case isn't these similarities, but the unanswered questions that remain years later. Elisa was a student at the University of British Columbia and came from a Hong Kong immigrant family. She suffered from bipolar disorder, something she never hid and often discussed on her blog. Although a relapse in 2012 caused her to take a break from some of her classes, her parents said she had never attempted suicide and had never even considered it. This is what makes Elisa's mysterious death during her ill-fated trip to Los Angeles so inexplicable. Up until the day she disappeared, Elisa contacted her parents in British Columbia daily. But on January 31st, 5 days after her last call, and the day she was supposed to check out of the Cecil Hotel and head to Santa Cruz, her parents received no call from her. That was the day Elisa vanished forever. Elisa's stay at the Cecil Hotel began strangely from the start. She was initially assigned a shared room on the 5th floor, but her roommates soon noticed her odd behavior. According to Amy Price, the hotel's manager at the time, Elisa left notes for her roommates that said things like, "Go home," and "Get out," and she would lock the door and require a password for re-entry. This behavior led to Elisa being moved to a private room after just 2 days. But that wasn't the only strange occurrence. A few days before she disappeared, Elisa attended a live taping of Conan in Burbank, where she was removed by security due to disruptive behavior. Still, none of this could explain what happened on January 31st. Hotel staff who saw Elisa that day were sure she was alone. Outside the hotel, Katie Orphan, a bookstore manager, was the only person to have seen her. According to Katie, Elisa was lively and friendly that day, buying gifts for her family. This made it seem unlikely that Elisa was planning to commit suicide. But the most mysterious and terrifying part of the story is the strange elevator footage from the hotel, captured just hours before Elisa disappeared. A 2.5-minute video that gets more unsettling and eerie as it goes on. The Los Angeles Police Department released the video on February 13th, while Elisa was still missing. None of her actions in the elevator were normal or explainable. As soon as she entered, she pressed several buttons on the elevator panel at once and waited in the corner. When the elevator doors didn't close, she briefly stepped out into the hallway, looking around, before quickly returning to the elevator and hiding in a corner, as if terrified of someone following her. Yet no one else is seen in the footage. Things get even stranger when Elisa repeatedly presses more buttons, steps back into the hallway, and begins gesturing oddly, as if talking to someone only she can see. This wasn't the first time Elisa had been frightened by something invisible. In the past, after stopping her medication for bipolar disorder, she had suffered terrifying hallucinations that once led her to hide under her bed and even resulted in a hospital stay. But even Elisa's mental health condition cannot fully explain what happened next. Elisa's body was found in one of 4 water tanks on the hotel's rooftop, a place that was not accessible without a ladder. How did she get into the tank? Her clothes and room key were found inside, but her phone was never recovered and there was no report of it being stolen. The autopsy performed on February 21st ruled out any drugs or intoxicants and found no conclusive evidence of sexual assault or foul play. Though the Los Angeles coroner's office ruled her death, an accidental drowning influenced by her bipolar disorder. They left the most crucial questions unanswered, turning Elisa's death into one of the world's most mysterious criminal cases. A death that became just one of the many mysterious occurrences at the Cecil Hotel, a place with a dark past full of suicides and crimes, many of which remain unsolved.